but only a few shall become legends. League of Legends: Clash of Fates.
In 2009, beta testing for the upcoming MOBA League of Legends Clash of Fates officially began. It was here that a select group of players were first given access to the game alongside an internet forum where they could post feedback, giving ideas, opinions, and bug reports to the game's developers directly. After League's official launch, these forums remained as the main hub of discussion for the game's community until their eventual shutdown in 2014. For those 5 years, though, this little corner of the internet was host to some of the most amazing threads ever made by any online community. I mean, a lot of these posts were just incoherent ramblings by angry fans, but others were really smart ideas put forward by pro players. Some of these were suggestions that would be put into the game years later, while others expressed problems League had, which we're still talking about today in 2020. I mean, the forum structure in general just kind of lends itself to being a bit weird, where you might find a wide range of quality when it comes to the discussions being had, but the League of Legends forum in particular was just one of my favorite experiences on the internet. So today, in this video, I want to take you guys through some of my favorite threads that were made over this beautiful half-decade, because, oh my goodness, some of these were really something else. Before we begin, I'd like to just mention that I've actually started a Twitter account where I'm going to continue posting threads like these for probably the rest of eternity. So if you'd like to check that out, there's a link in the description, but let's go ahead and get started. One of the first posts ever written came to the League forums on September 1st of 2009, when the game was still in a closed beta, and it came by member VSelk, which I don't really know how to say his name, that's what I'm gonna probably call him. Anyway, his thread was titled, "Why I Think LOL Will Not Be Successful," and we're already off to a great start here. Look at this capitalization. He's smart enough to capitalize the first word as well as a proper noun, but he's not smart enough to capitalize I, which you should always capitalize when you're writing. But anyway, getting beyond that, his post laid out 10 bullet points describing why he believed that League of Legends was not ever going to become popular or a successful game. Point number 1, there's too much right-clicking. It's so annoying. I can't recall any game in the past I've played where I had to right-click non-stop. Point number 5, games feel extremely slow, characters walking and such. Point number 3, fog. Point number 7, why does every hero have a free teleport? Keep in mind, he's not talking about the summoner spell teleport. He's complaining that every hero has a recall teleport where you can recall the base instead of having to run all the way back from lane. Most of the responses to this post kind of just talk to this guy by saying that, you know, this is in Dota. He's clearly someone who came from Dota or Heroes of Newerth, and I mean, he should just go play those games if he wants to play them so badly. One of the better responses to this post came in the form of another thread, where VSelk's original thread, "Why I Think LOL Will Not Be Successful," even today is still flanked by a thread made by May Joel titled, "Why I Think VSelk is an Idiot." Maybe the best response of all, though, came the day after this post was made, when a young Hawaiian kid named Dyrus responded by saying, "What the heck, are you 2 years old or something? Do your fingers hurt when you click? You're only controlling one hero and you can't handle clicks. You must suck at RTS games." Now, you'll notice throughout this video that players who played League of Legends from Season 1 through Season 3 and reached some sort of successful reward tier, like getting up to gold in Season 1 or something, they will have a little icon displayed underneath their name, and we can look at VSelk and see that he likely quit League of Legends pretty fast after he tried it out in this beta release. One of the first discussions that became a pretty heated topic on these forums throughout the beta phase of League was the discussion about multiple servers, but it's not what you're thinking. People were really angry because Riot was talking about having more than one server. In a post later made by Tecumseh, Riot talked about how they were going to be creating a separate European server for European players, since everybody at the time was playing on a single server hosted in Los Angeles. Riot was going to be creating new servers for every region, region and specifically said that they were going to try and prevent people who had IPs from certain regions from playing on a server that wasn't meant for them. So this meant that European players would have to play on the European server or use something like a VPN if they wanted to go ahead and hop onto the NA server and play with higher ping. The League of Legends community absolutely hated this, and this is the second thread we're going to be talking about. Warning: how to run LoL into the ground, split the community. This post was made by a guy who a lot of you guys probably know. He was someone who would go on to reach Challenger tier, play professionally, and currently works as a content creator for Misfits Gaming, who has a very popular stream as well as YouTube channel, a personal friend of mine, none other than Valkyrin. He writes here, Riot is on a fast track to destruction. Just recently, there was a thread on European servers claiming that Europeans will not be able to play on American servers and vice versa. This is quite possibly the biggest mistake I have ever seen happen to a gaming community, and the end result is player backlash. I play online games to play with friends. It's as simple as that. I don't want to have to run an effing proxy to play with my European friends. Riot, you are now holding a time bomb. The choice is yours. Hold on to it and meet a painful death, or throw it to the ground. The bomb is ticking. He then links the Throw It on the Ground Saturday Night Live digital short, which, oh my god, I love this so much. I mean, think about how much people get frustrated at the idea of having to play currently in North America with like 30 ping or something. Europeans were playing with 150 ping or so on NA servers at the time, and people were angry at the idea of lowering that because they thought it was going to split League's community. I guess nobody really knew how big League was going to end up becoming, and the fact that, you know, you didn't really have to worry about splitting such a huge community. You kind of prefer it these days. This next series of posts came out in October of 2009, specifically mid to late October, when Heimerdinger was added to the game. Apparently Heimer was one of the first champions added after the original like closed beta cast. So this is a series of threads reacting to his release and just kind of, I want to show you guys what the community thought of him. This first post is made by Vexian, who would go on to get gold in season 3. He writes, post what you think about him, referring to Heimerdinger, but personally, I think he needs to be taken out as a hero, period, at the moment, because he is so unbalanced. And he's not talking about him being bad. He's saying Heimerdinger is overpowered. Tell me what you think. I just played him for the first time, and my level 1 turret soloed the Minotaur 1v1. Now, he's referring to Alistar here. He's saying that Alistar died to a level 1 Heimerdinger turret 1v1, which is kind of hilarious to think about. Now, some of the responses in this thread go on to say Heimerdinger's not overpowered at all, he's just annoying, but some people agreed with him that they believed he needs to be removed from the game. Here's a thread that ran a poll asking for people's thoughts on Heimerdinger, although all of these responses are negative, but the most voted on responses were Heimerdinger sucks, remove him, and Heimerdinger sucks, remake him. I don't think any champion had ever been remade before. This might be the first reference to the idea of Riot ever even being able to remake champions. I mean, this was still a time where people thought that champions could actually be removed from the game, apparently. Here's another post saying, nerf Heimerdinger's name. Almost no one can spell it correctly, myself included. It's frankly effing the entire game up. I'm quitting until this is addressed. Now, here's an interesting thread. It says, just admit your mistake, just like you did with Deathfire's Grasp. Take Heimerdinger out of the game. This is very interesting because this post was made in October of 2009, and apparently Deathfire's Grasp had already been removed from the game. DFG was of course a very popular item that would then be re-added, but then removed again in 2015. January 28th, 2015 was when Deathfire Grasp was removed from the game, but apparently Riot didn't learn their lesson. They had already removed it once before and had re-added it. Here's a great post that's just flaming an individual player. This guy made a thread to call out some summoner who apparently went by the name CoronaKnox. Here's a fascinating post that was made in July of 2009. This guy titled his thread Breaking NDA and said, as someone already posted in IRC, this guy, his name is Suave, he is apparently breaking NDA by uploading a YouTube video. This YouTube video has since been removed, but there was a Riot response here by the user Pendragon, who again moderated a lot of the early forums, and he said, "Thanks, I'll take it from here." Apparently, I mean, we can only speculate, but this suggests that anyone who got into the closed beta was under an NDA by Riot, a non-disclosure agreement where they were not allowed to show any gameplay, anything like that with League of Legends. And not only that, but apparently the only way that people communicated with each other in Riot other than the forums was an official IRC chat, which is like, you know, those old QuakeNet chats that existed for a really long period of time in the early internet. Here's a great post titled "Death Penalty Needs Work." This guy talks about his problems with the death penalty in League of Legends, where people respond, "I personally am opposed to the death penalty. I agree, capital punishment is a very barbaric action." Here's a post talking about a potential League of Legends tournament in 2009 called the League of Legends Open, posted by Andy Din. Oh, hey, look, it's Reginald. Any of you who are around when the forums were up probably remember a million threads like this. One of the most requested things by the community when giving feedback to Riot was removing Flash from the game because everybody took it. Yeah, I mean, that obviously never happened. Another pretty hilarious series of posts came from people who were talking about the fact that League of Legends only had one map. There were a lot of people who said that the game wasn't worth the money because people were pre-ordering those box sets of League of Legends that was published by THQ, which isn't even a company anymore. But people were pre-ordering those. They cost like $30, and people were saying that it's insane that you only get one playable map and one game mode. I mean, that can't be worth the money, right? Here's a post that was made in October of 2009 by a user named Grammar Nazi who said, "Solo queuing will never be good for one reason: Terabads who join real games and have no friggin' clue what they are doing." I mean, I guess he's kind of got a point there. That's something I think a lot of people would agree with. Here's a kind of spooky post that I found that was made a day before Halloween in October of 2009. This guy named Victus said, "Hey THQ and Riot Games, make a vampire champion and I'll start playing the game." He's kind of implying here that he's not going to play League of Legends unless there's a vampire champion in it, which is kind of weird, but what's even weirder is there was a response here. Later on in the thread, this guy named Locust, who, if you don't know who Locust is, he was one of the original members of Dignitas and was one of the best support pro players in early seasons of League. He said, "Here is my idea of a vampire champion." The thread he links to then talks about a vampire champion named Vlad the Blood Hunter. Now, the abilities and idea for this champion are a little bit strange. I mean, they kind of outline a more melee assassin character, so if Riot took inspiration from this, they probably just took the inspiration of the idea from, a vampire champion named Vladimir. But he actually outlines some pretty complex abilities, including one that suggests an ability that will stun or crowd control people if they have below a certain amount of health, and otherwise they'll just get slowed by the ability. I mean, that kind of sounds almost exactly like Aurelia's old E before she got reworked. This was kind of a really cool post. I'll link it in the description down below if you want to see it. Here's a great post made by somebody called Rip Legion who says, "This game is broken. I've played 400 plus games and I just shake my head at lol." That's exactly the feeling I have. I don't know. His post kind of has a little bit of a weird title, but this was something that was pretty common where people would just kind of, flame Riot for different issues that they were having with the game. But I love some of the suggestions that this guy has for how he would fix the game, namely Team Global Experience. This would actually make people have skill and rely on player item builds to gain advantage, not who can gank the most people early game. Plus, players that are not as good as the pros would level at the same rate, making this game worth playing for average players and even noobs. This is just kind of hilarious because he's complaining the game doesn't have skill, but this suggestion takes skill out of the game. Isn't this what that Blizzard game tried to do? Here is one of the many threads suggesting that ELO, which was the rating we used before we used the league point system, they say, why is ELO based on win-loss and not KDA? if you're playing and you have a bad team, you lose elo. That's not fair. It should be based on how well you do in your KDA, which, I mean, it's kind of hilarious thinking back. This was a very popular sentiment for years and years and years. Here's something you may find interesting. This is the top 500 players that were ranked based on their elo before the beta officially ended and Riot reset everyone's ratings for the official release in, I mean, it looks like October of 2009. You can see here the #1 rated player was Takashi X, who would later go on to play quite a bit of League of Legends professionally. The #2 rated player was Reginald, who of course is the owner of TSM. Later on, you see Reginald's brother Dan Din, who's rated in the top 6. You also see Dyrus later on, of course, who's rated pretty highly here in the top 10, and a few other interesting players that you may know. Mega Zero, someone named Neil Patrick Harris. You even got someone named Sneaky. LOL's community is bad. I quit the game. Ignore the title, I just want to know why everyone says the community is so bad. I could honestly keep on going forever, so I'll go ahead and cut myself off, and you guys can just follow that Twitter account if you want to see more, but I'm going to go ahead and leave you with one more example here. This was a thread called Game Ruining, made by a player named Wasabi, who would go on to get Platinum in Season 3. His post was made in 2009, in November, where he said, "Is there any plan for people who intentionally game ruin? By game ruining, I'm referring to those who clearly attempt to ruin the game for others. Examples: AFK at fountain while dancing, running down a lane trying to make it as far into the enemy's base as possible before creeps/towers/players pick you off, following players around to absorb experience but not participating, not attacking creeps or players in an effort to hinder the player's progress so they clearly have no chance at victory, running continually to the worm at levels 3 to 10 and dying, claiming you were trying to help the team get gold and buffs." This is slowly becoming the norm in games that I play, where I'm not just playing with 3 to 4 friends. Playing by myself or with a friend has almost completely lost its entertainment value because of these types of players. Well, Wasabi, I think I am kind of sad to inform you that we're about 11 years after your first post, and things have not gotten much better, but who knows, maybe things will improve in the next 11 years. Anyway, on that note, I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut myself off. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please leave a comment. Did you enjoy this? I could do more fun, lighthearted things like this in between my big documentary releases if you guys would like to see more, but go ahead and give me some feedback on that if you would like to. But anyway, I will see you all in our next video, our next series, which should be coming up pretty soon. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful, wonderful day.